Hey y'all, today I want you to take a walk through my world. My daughter is a type 1 diabetic. I want to read something to you. It was written by Irma Bombeck. How God Selects the Mother of a Child with Diabetes. Most women become mothers by accident, some by choice, a few by social pressures, and a couple by habit. Did you ever wonder how mothers of children with diabetes are chosen? Somehow I visualize God hovering over earth, selecting his instruments for propagation with great care and deliberation. As he observes, he instructs his angels to make notes in a giant ledger. Armstrong, Beth, son, patron St. Matthew. Forrest, Marjorie, daughter, patron St. Cecilia. Rutledge, Carrie, twins, patron St. Gerard. He's used to profanity. Finally, he passes a name to an angel and smiles. Give her a child with diabetes. The angel's curious. Why this one, God? She's so happy. Exactly, smiles God. Could I give a child with diabetes to a mother who does not know laughter? That would be cruel. But has she the patience? Asks the angel. I don't want her to have too much patience, or she will drown in a sea of self-pity and despair. Once the shock and resentment wear off, she'll handle it. I watched her today. She has that feeling of self and independence that is so rare and so necessary in a mother. You see, the child I'm going to give her has her own world. She has to make it to live in her world, and that's not going to be easy. But Lord, I don't think she even believes in you. God smiles. No matter, I can fix that. This one is perfect. She has just enough selfishness. The angel gasps. Selfishness? Is that a virtue? God nods. If she cannot separate herself from the child occasionally, she will never survive. Yes, here is a woman whom I will bless with less than perfect. She does not realize it yet, but she is to be envied. I will permit her to see things clearly, the things I see, ignorance, cruelty, prejudice, and allow her to rise above them. She will never be alone. She is doing my work as surely as if she is here by my side. And what about her patron saint? Asks the angel, with his pen poised in midair. God smiles. A mirror will suffice. There's many times that I feel alone, but I've always got God with me. And that mirror, no, that mirror, that just don't cut it. I turn to my Bible, because God is the reason my daughter's still here, and I am still here surviving this. Many years ago, I was told by my OBGYN, ma'am, you'll never have kids. When I was a little girl, all I ever prayed for was a little girl and a little boy. So, not being able to have babies, I got my CDLs, and I went over the road trucking. Time went by, and I was so sick. Made it back home to Alabama, and got rushed to the ER. Ma'am, you're pregnant. No, sir, I can't get pregnant. Ma'am, you're going to have a baby either way. And 9 months later, a beautiful bouncing baby girl, our Brittany. A little over 2 years after that, God blessed me with a little boy. It was when my daughter was 8 years old that she fell out at school. 911 was called and she was taken to the ER and they diagnosed her with diabetes. In 2007, she was with my mother and dad, and I got there just in time. My mother thought she was faking being sick, but when I walked into the bathroom, she was sitting in the floor hugging the toilet. The bathroom reeked of the smell of sugar smacks and Fruit Loops. Type 1 diabetics, when they are that sick, they emit a smell. It's the best way I can put it. Their breath is very, very sweet smelling. And Fruit Loops and sugar smacks is the closest thing you can compare it to. I rushed her to our local hospital. We were there about 30 minutes, if that. And I turned around and I saw 3 men standing in the doorway, dressed differently. They were wearing flight suits. They were from Children's Hospital at UAB. At the time, they didn't tell me because they knew I would have to drive 60 miles to get to UAB where they were taking my daughter. She had to be life-flighted. She was that sick. As with any children's hospital, they are wonderful. By the good graces of God, they snapped her out of it, got all the medicines in her that she needed, and we were there for a few days and we got to come home. The pilots gave her wings, her helicopter wings. A few years later, in February of 2012, I got home and she was in the floor, breathing very, very erratically. I could not get her to respond to me. I dialed 911. They rushed her to Hughes Spalding Children's Hospital in Atlanta. They could not care for her at Hughes Spalding. They did get her stabilized enough to take her to Eggleston Children's Hospital, also in Atlanta. She was in a diabetic coma. All of these machines, we knew what each one did, what each medicine was for. She was put on a breathing vent, IVs, anything and everything you could think of. She was on it. Due to the pressure of her brain swelling from the coma, they induced her deeper into a coma. At the time, that still didn't work. They had to drill a hole in my daughter's skull and insert an ICP bolt, intracranial pressure bolt, which would tell the doctors the amount of pressure that her brain was putting on her skull. They decided that due to the fluid around her brain, if they were to let that drain off, it would give her brain a little more room. Thankfully, that worked, because if it had not, they would have taken the top of my daughter's skull completely off. She had very wonderful nurses. Her daytime nurse and her nighttime nurse, I could not have asked for better. The nighttime nurse even took the time to paint my daughter's toenails. After a few days of the ICP bolt and monitoring, her pressure of her brain on her skull came down to normal, and they were able to remove the ICP bolt and the drain tube. This Picture right here is what was inside my daughter's head. A couple of days later, they relaxed the medicines that was keeping her in a coma, and she came out of it. One thing I want to stress here is no matter the situation, if a friend or family member is in a coma, talk to them. Just like I'm talking to you right now. They can hear you. When my daughter woke up, she told me, "Mama, I heard you. I've felt you hold my hand and say, 'Baby, come back to me.' I heard everything you said." So please, talk to them. They do hear you. They put my daughter into the step-down unit, and her special friend came over and helped lift her spirits. She was not able to eat anything due to being on the vent to help her breathe. She couldn't talk very well, and she couldn't swallow. So they fed her through the tube that you see going through her nose down into her stomach. She was in a coma for a total of 8 days. Once she was well enough to leave Eggleston, they transferred her to Scottish Rite, another children's hospital in Atlanta. It's more of a rehab hospital. My daughter had to learn how to walk. She had to learn how to talk again. Because of the breathing vent, she sounded like a little mouse. She also had to learn how to swallow. She couldn't drink water. She could actually drink orange juice, which is a thicker liquid. That was easier for her. But they worked with her all throughout every day that she was there. All total, she was in the hospitals for 3 weeks. Scottish Rite helped her regain function to walk and talk and eat. They would not allow her to leave until she could do all of those things. She also had to be able to bend over and tie her own shoes. Throughout the years, the hospital visits haven't stopped. Several emergency room visits, which resulted in being in the ICU. By the grace of God also, she has not gone back into a coma. Each time, she was admitted for diabetic ketoacidosis, which basically the sugar in her blood turns to acid, and it can kill a type 1 diabetic. Nowadays you hear the keto diet. Back in the day it was Dr. Atkins. Us without diabetes would purposely put our bodies into ketosis because that's what burns the fat. When a type 1 diabetic does it, that's danger. That can kill a type 1 diabetic. So she has suffered many bruises from the numerous IVs. It got to one point to where her veins were so bad in her hands and in her arms, they had no choice but to go into her neck. We are very grateful right now to be able to say she has not been in diabetic ketoacidosis since September of 2018. As a parent, you learn what all these numbers mean. And when your daughter's coming out of it, you learn things like, what is her gap? What is her potassium at? Her vitamin D level? You learn the questions you have to ask. Eventually, the nurses understand that you know what they're saying, and they'll give you the answers you're looking for. The highlight of any day is when you see the blood glucose monitor when it hits 100. She unicorned, which is a term amongst the little ones, which is just about a perfect blood sugar level. As a mother, I celebrate every day that my daughter wakes up. But we really celebrate things like her 16th birthday, her 18th birthday, her 21st. Can my daughter eat cake like me and you? Of course she can, in moderation, and as long as she takes her insulin for it. The one thing I want to stress is this. Stop with the jokes. Stop with the comments. Have you tried cinnamon? Oh, she just needs to eat better. Change her diet. Oh, you can't eat that. To another normal person, that's going to be diabetes on a plate. Well, here's diabetes on a plate for my daughter. It takes a toll on us, parents of diabetics. It takes a toll on my daughter to be subjected to these comments and memes. Yes, we have laughed at Medea in her movies. I'm a diabetical. So is my daughter. But this isn't a joke. My daughter's pancreas is dead. It does nothing. It produces no insulin. None whatsoever. This is not your grandmother's diabetes, as some people have said to us. Oh, I understand. My grandmother has that. Wrong answer. This is different. This is type 1. Your grandmother, her pancreas produces some insulin. That's how she can control hers, maybe with a pill or her diet. No level of different kind of food is going to help my daughter. She is totally and utterly, completely dependent on the needle and that bottle of insulin. So when you see me get upset about diabetes, and I'm sure you can hear it in my voice right now, yeah, it's for a reason. This isn't a joke. This is our life. I don't wish this on anybody. I don't wish on anybody having to go to your daughter's bedroom door throughout the day when she's taking a nap and watch to make sure she's breathing. Pray to God every night, please let my daughter wake up in the morning. Nobody wants that. I didn't ask for this. My daughter didn't ask for this. But you know what? We get it through each and every day. Sometimes each and every hour. So just take into consideration that there's people out here in the world that are different. It takes a toll on us. Just have a little bit more respect. You want to know what type 1 diabetes looks like? You're looking at her right here. She's come a long way. And we are so very proud of her. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to spend these few minutes with me today. God bless. Take care. This is Bama Bell. Have a great day.